Have you ever found yourself captivated by a black and white photo? There's something undeniably sleek and modern about it, and the way it plays with light and shadow can be incredibly dramatic. Without colour to distract you, your eye is drawn directly to the shape, texture and mood of what the image is trying to tell. I'm obsessed with shooting in black and white, and when I go out with my camera, I'm constantly seeing the world in monochrome. I imagine how a scene would look framed on my wall, and that vision feeds my composition, just staring at a scene through a viewfinder, and with every tilt and subtle adjustment, I'm trying to craft the image I see in my mind before I even hit the shutter. And every day, just like you guys no doubt, when I'm out and about, I pass scenes and objects that would look nice and interesting on black and white, but most of the time I'm focused on other things. But not today. Today, I'm going to look for the little things that could possibly look great printed and framed. It really does slow you down, this sort of photography. I know film slows you down anyway, but shut up, you bleating seagull. Film photography slows you down anyway, but you know, this sort of photography, I'm just dawdling, taking my time, looking at textures, looking at brickwork, looking at window frames, looking at shadows, lighting. Whereas normally I'll just be walking through past all this, but you stop and you look, and you can see photographs everywhere. So if you're stuck for any photography ideas, hopefully by the end of this video you'll go and grab your camera and try something new. Maybe this is something that you already do. It's very, very simple photography, and but there's one key element, component that needs to be done, which I'll explain in a short while. For now, I'm going to carry on looking for some compositions. So what I'm doing is very simple, minimalistic photography that wouldn't look out of place in hotels, businesses, offices, homes as well. I'm just walking around these streets looking for detail, and you might think to yourself, well, that's not hard. It is actually quite tricky when you get down to it, but it's having an idea at the end what you want to do with those photographs. And how many of us, me and you included, that get those days where you really do want to go out and take pictures, but you get that photographer's block? This is pretty simple photography that anyone can do, and it gets you out shooting and getting creative as well. It's like this shot here, it's nothing special, but I just like all this background that someone's drawn it on. I've never even seen this wall before, but I've got these bicycle railings going on, so if I can, I don't know, get the railing in the shot coming from the centre at the bottom over to the left of the frame and focus on that wall, keeping the railing slightly out of focus, it might look nice, I don't know. And every day we walk past the most simple objects, but they're so uninteresting, we never stop to look and see if there's a photograph in it. And sometimes it's the little things that make all the difference. Actually 5.6, and a bit more depth of field. Oh, it's really hurting now. So I've kind of gone on the Dutch again. Big stone in front of me, all drifting off out of focus in the background. Oh. And this is what I'm talking about, photographs like this, stuff that you'd never usually go out and see. You could almost call it urban street photography, but you're getting in really close. Today I'm using a 50mm lens. Jesus Christ, mate, that's a loud exhaust. Today I'm using a 50mm lens, and I'm getting nice and close up. And even if I have to crop later on in the print to get it how I want it to look, that doesn't matter to me, that's what I'll do. But I'm gonna get nice and close up on certain things that I find when I'm walking around that I wouldn't otherwise normally look at. So I'm just going to walk around these streets, take my time and just try and observe little details and imagine in my mind whether they'd look good as a photograph, especially on a print and framed at home. And you often see framed prints on walls of restaurants and businesses and hotels, etc. You probably wouldn't look twice if they were posted on social media, but as soon as they're behind glass and on a wall nicely framed, suddenly they have more appeal. They look nice, and whoever took the photograph can feel proud that their work is where it needs to be. And even if you was to put your work on a calendar like my mate Tad does, he does this every year. He sends me a calendar of his photographs that he takes around the world, and they're absolutely beautiful, but he's getting his work printed at least into a calendar. No doubt he's got frames as well. And also another one of my friends, Mitchell Walker, he makes little tiny books of his work. You know, he gets them printed and puts them out in books, and it's just nice to look at, much better than just sitting there on a computer or on a storage device somewhere not doing anything. So it's always good to get your stuff printed if you can. You've got this big old boat mooring thing here. I'm talking to my camera, sorry. There's a lady behind the camera agreeing with me. Sorry, darling. This is the sort of thing I'm talking about, this old boat mooring iron that's sitting bolted into this floor, you know. Nice and close up, I can get down on it. But there's so many different sort of subjects that I could focus on. I could focus on textures, I could focus on rust, I could focus on shapes and lines, I could focus on shadows. And I just got to pick one particular genre, if you like, or subject, and go out and hunt for those objects for photographs, whether you're shooting digital or film, to get them onto paper and get them framed. It makes all the difference, you know. You're going to sit there and look at it on the computer, but as soon as it's behind glass, it just opens up a whole new feeling behind looking at your own photographs. And this is how this is how daft it can get. I'm looking at this statue stone at the bottom here, and I'm looking at all the shapes, I'm looking at the detail of the stones, and I'm looking thinking, is there a print in there somewhere that would look nice? And I know it sounds crazy, but if this was an important piece of stonework in a manor house, you'd probably find this, or a photograph of this, framed inside the manor house with a little thing underneath saying this was a stone laid by so and so. Do you know what I mean? And it's just nice artwork to look at if you can get creative with it. Personally, I think it looks always much better when the sun's out, so we can get some banging shadows. It's this old boat iron here for mooring up with some rope. I don't know, it might look crap, it might look nice, but at least I've given it a go, eh? These always make nice photographs, these ropes on these mooring anchors here, look, whatever they're called. There's no contrast in it at all. This one might look better, black rope, silver chain, a sort of buff grey mooring anchor, and try and make something of it. Just looking at the compositions. Oh, I'm going to take this shot, okay. No, don't like that either. So I've just pulled back a little bit, so I've got some of that rope and chain going off the jetty into the water. I can't see the water. They're just nice, pleasant photographs to look at if they was in a certain type of place, and certainly for me as well. If I like any of these photographs, there might be one, there might be two, there might be none that I think are worth printing, but if I can get one or two out of this whole roll and make a print, it'll possibly look quite nice indoors. I always find silver looks nice as well on black and white prints. It kind of gives that real glossy, chromy look. And this is an old beer barrel. The sun's just coming out. I'll take one with shadows and the sun out and one with the sun in. But that's the thing about this sort of photography, it doesn't have to be absolutely brilliant. It's just supposed to be an enjoyable walk, taking pictures, and if you get a photograph at the end of it, that's a result. Not only that, it's practice as well. And like I said earlier, you could come out to any location, just plan where you want to go and think, okay, what do I want to get from today's roll of film? Do I want to get textures? Do I want to get light, beautiful light reflections, shadows? Do I want to get lines going in and out of the composition? And most of the stuff that I'm doing today is really close up. You know, I've seen some nice compositions where it's wider, but I don't want that. I haven't come out for that. I've come up for just some real close-up stuff with a 50mm lens, and that's what hopefully when I get back, that's what I'll have on the film. Okay, so this side of the building it says Yachts Women. So I think I was loitering outside the toilets. And there's three particular frames that I've got in my study at home, and they're nothing pictures, they're steps, they're a Liverpool Street sign, and another one is the floor of a pier that I found. Took the photographs, made the prints, and they've been sitting on my wall for ages, and I like them that much. They've stayed there, I haven't changed them. Usually I'll take a frame down and just replace the print inside, just for, you know, chop and change things around a little bit, but those ones have stayed there, and they're very much similar to what I'm doing today. And I think that's important, that you do get your own work printed as well, whether you're shooting digital or film. If you haven't got a darkroom, you can easily scan your negatives and send them off to a printer or send them somewhere to be done. Get a nice frame and put them up on the wall, and you'll be surprised how much you grow to like something, and it might even lead you on to getting more inspiration and going out and finding that sort of photography. Shot number 12, I've got 24 inside this roll of Ilford FP4. And I'm also pushing this to 400 as well, so I'm pushing this 2 stops just to get a bit more banging contrast out of it and a little bit more grain as well. I find with FP4 I've been enjoying shooting that at 400. There's no reason for me to do that other than just to bang a little bit more contrast and a bit more feeling out of the negative and out of the print at the end of it. Something's drawing me to these old windows with these bars, really sort of crappy texture, and the sun's out on it. I don't know, maybe it will make a nice photo, maybe it won't, I don't know. Okay, I've got a circle and a shadow. That might look quite nice with the shadow in the sun. Chicken wire glass, rusty old textures. Oh, gotcha. I'll get this one, I'm going to get a little bit of sky in as well. There's a lamp. Ah, there's a lamp there as well. Not quite as close as I'd like to have been my compositions, but so I couldn't wait to get back from that shoot and start developing the film and seeing what I got out of it. I knew the film was going to be a little bit contrasty because I pushed it and I was in sunshine as well, but that's what I wanted. So when I got the negatives, I was elated that they looked really nice. So gave me a little clean. I started separating them and seeing which ones I wanted to make prints of in the darkroom. So I'm going to make a couple of prints in my darkroom of 2 of the photographs that I really liked, and I'm going to put those in frames. I'll show you what they look like later on. The first one I liked was the seagull going over the bridge. It wasn't really what I set out to do. I was set out to get close-up stuff, but when I saw that composition with the bridge, I looked up and I thought, if only I had a seagull come over, that might look quite nice. and I waited forever and a day for a seagull to come over. My initial composition was the bridge was coming right diagonally down to the bottom corner here, and I waited ages, but as soon as I sort of almost gave up the photograph, a seagull come flying over, so I spun back round and took the shot, and that's what I ended up with. This is the whole negative you can see here on a 10x8 easel. So that whole negative won't fit on a 10x8 piece of paper. There's going to be some cropping, but I've cropped in so the whole negative that you're going to see here is on that 10x8 piece of paper that I'm going to print in a moment. And I've left a slight border at the bottom for any signing or whatever that I wish to do with it. So I'll go ahead, I'll make this print now. I'll quickly show you this one coming through in a developer. I won't bore you too long with a darkroom session, and I'll show you what these prints look like in frames once they've done. So this is the first print that I've done. It's always tricky when you've got a bright sky and a darker area, so I've had to do a little bit of split grading on under the enlarger. I started off with a 2.5 grade filter for 7.5 seconds, which looked nice, but for a few seconds I just gradiented that part in, so you can see underneath the bridge, you can see it now coming to light, so you've got detail there. And then I had to use a contrast 0 filter just to boost up the highlights over this side, the clouds, and just covering my hand like so, well not my hand but a piece of card, to stop the light hitting this part. So the light under the contrast 0 only got around here, and it's come out really nice. And you can see I've put the border in at the bottom there for any sign-in or addition numbers as well. That looked really nice when it's printed. I'll show you that in a little while when it's on a frame. And you can see that was the first one that I did. That's when I realised I needed to start working on this area and also darken this down a little tiny bit, but it's come out really looking nice. Now this is the second one that I'm working on with 10x8, and you can see the easel, the whole negative is sitting inside, and there's nothing I can do about that. I can't, if I try and crop that, I'm literally going to kill the composition that I did, and I think I've got a killer composition there as well, so I don't really want to ruin that. So I'm going to print this picture here inside that 10x8, and if anyone's going to ever frame that one, that'll have to be a specialised mount for whichever size frame for the aperture to fit that 10x8 inside. But it's a nice photograph. I'm going to go ahead and print that and see how it looks. And I can appreciate some of you guys don't have darkrooms to make prints, but I don't have a decent digital printer either to make digital prints. So any digital photographs that I take and I want to get printed, I have to go to my friend's gallery, which is a shop where he sells his own prints, and he's got a fantastic printer, and obviously I pay him and he prints out my pictures for me, any digital ones that I want. Obviously any film pictures I just come in the darkroom and do. That's come through pretty quick. Just going to leave that in there a little bit longer, just make sure those blacks really get into the paper. Like I said, with this kind of photography, it's really a bonus when that sun comes out. You get some lovely contrast on certain subjects, such as this one here. You see where the sun's shining on that brick wall there, and I've banged that contrast 5 just to boost the blacks a little bit in the background. If I show you the test strip, you can see it was not really as dark as I wanted it to be in the background. So that's why I use a contrast 5 just to bang that a little bit. And that's come out really nice. You can see the composition, it's quite rare that I get exactly what I want from the camera. Sometimes I'm just a little tiny bit off, but I think with that one, I nailed the composition. And under the enlarger now, you can see that graffitied wall with the cycle rack projected. I just liked it. I don't know why I liked it. I think it would look nice in a frame. So I'm going to frame this one. You can see what I've done. I've actually cropped in, so you can see the edge of the 35mm neg is hanging over, but that's fine. So all I've done, I've just cropped it in and got it composed how I like it for a print. And I'm going to go ahead and attempt this one. So I'm just framing that print now of the bridge and the seagull. And these frames I get are pretty inexpensive. They're only about, I don't know, 7 or 8 quid, £10 at the most, from the local Home Depot store, or Dunelm Mill, as you guys in the UK would know it as. There you go, you can see that's the matted mount now, and you can see a little tiny border at the bottom if I want to put my signature on there or an edition number, but the whole negative is now inside that frame. There's no cropping at all, so exactly what the camera saw is exactly going inside this frame. And I think, like I said earlier on, when you're doing photography, I think it's important to frame prints. And you know, I've got quite a few frames indoors. Take these off now. I've got quite a few frames indoors, and I chop and change them over. So in a few months I might take this one out and put a different print in there, and it just sort of brightens up your rooms in your home, if you like. But also I think it gives you a bit of inspiration as well. If you really like the photograph, like those ones in my room, like I showed you, they won't come out. I really like them, and then the sort of photographs that I look at and think, you know, I did that. There you go. In fact, I've got a little tiny bit of crap in the glass which I'll have to take out, but you get the idea. And that's my little 10x8 print, framed behind glass, ready to be hung up somewhere indoors, possibly in my room. And that's the other one, for some strange reason, that I liked, was that graffitied wall. I'm not usually one for taking pictures of artwork on walls, but I just thought, I don't know, I just liked it. So these are the prints that I ended up with from my little excursion around the town. See that one there? I quite like that one. Like I said, I thought the composition was good, so I'll get that one framed at some point. I just need to get a mount for it because that's an unusual size. And I also made a print of the boat mooring thing, whatever that's called. I don't know what it's called. I quite like that one as well. Just had to do a little bit of burning in on here because it was a bit too bright, and a bit of dodging on the rope, but I managed to get there in the end. We can have it that way round. Looks quite nice either way, portrait or landscape. And we've got the beer barrel one as well. I printed that one. That was the one that was in the sun. That's the beer barrel. That one came out quite nice. And that was a nice afternoon darkroom session. So that's quite a nice little project to do if you love your photography, but you're stuck for ideas, or you're sitting indoors thinking, oh, you know, there's just nothing going right, there's no light, there's not feeling inspired or whatever, everything's boring, I've done it all before. Just grab your camera and go out for a walk and see what you can find, as I did today. I was looking for lines, looking for textures, looking for shadows, and I managed to get a few nice photographs on the film, and a couple that I've printed as well in the darkroom. And I think that's important as well to, you know, if you're not into printing your work and you're only used to seeing it on computer, try and get some of your photographs printed as well, be it digital or film. if you haven't got a digital printer or a darkroom, I'm sure there's someone out there that will be able to make prints for you, or even go online and try and find a reputable company that can make prints for you to enjoy at home, you know, for you to give yourself a little bit of self-satisfaction, look at the wall, look at the print and go, do you know what, I did that. You'll be surprised at how much you enjoy looking at your own prints. And I hope the video's inspired anybody to get out if they feel a little bit bored with their photography, or feel like, you know, they've done it all before. Get out and try something different. This is an exercise that I do now and again. Just go out, take my time, walk around, and I'm just looking for lines and shapes, shadows, textures, and anything that I think might make a nice photograph. But anyway guys, hope the video has been a bit inspirational for you. Keep shooting, and thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.